Today is Wednesday, the 10th of September, 2025, right? We have more people trying to join us. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Mr. Michael Ebong, Mr. Ekpe Ambassador. Good morning, Mr. Michael Edozie. Good morning, Ifeanyi Anselm. Good morning, and every other person on board. Okay, so let's just start. So today we have some fundamental events that are tradable. Earlier on, nighttime Nigerian time, there were a couple of events that were released, and the next event today will actually come up in the afternoon by 12:45 p.m. and that's the speech by the SNB chairman Slegel. That's the central bank governor for Switzerland is going to give a speech by 12:45 p.m. and it will be followed by the event by 1:30 p.m. That is the core PPI and the PPI from the United States. Now, this will be tradable. Both of them are high impact news and combined together a considerable measure of volatility is expected in the market. So we're going to look at what the dollar, is saying ahead of this news event. All right, so let's just go straight to the charts so that we get a clearer outlook of the market. So I'm going to switch over straight away to my MetaTrader. All right, so this is the MetaTrader. I'm on MetaTrader platform now. And we're looking at what is obtainable in the market technically for today. Okay, so this is the dollar index. I remember giving us an analysis on this instrument on Monday. I remember telling us that dollar, this move here was a breakout at the NFP on Friday. And I said after that massive breakout, price hit a support and then retraced as a Monday, forming a rejection candle up there. So I said the next wave of movement was going to be down, and that has happened. So price came back to this support zone on the daily time frame. Though this is the 4 hour, but all this actually happened on the daily time frame. Now, yesterday the market closed with a reversal candlestick pattern on this support zone. Now, this kind of reversal candlestick pattern, they happen when you have a massive or a big bearish candle followed simultaneously by a big bullish candle, both of them like the same height, like you can see now, and at the support zone or support level is an indication of a reversal to the upside. Now, normally this should have been called a tweezer bottom, but this other candle here does not have a shadow, but then I can still take it as a tweezer bottom, but generally it's a reversal. It tells you that price is reversing when you have equal size of bearish then followed by bullish at the support zone. Is an indication that price is getting ready for a reversal to the bullish direction. So we see that clearly on the daily time frame, and we can switch over to the 4 hour. And on the 4 hour time frame, what I'm seeing at the moment is looking like, okay, we have a resistance, kind of a resistance here. Now, for me, this is giving us an outlook of an inverse head and shoulder. We may still see a slight drop on the dollar index, but then eventually, I strongly believe price will break out upwards to the bullish direction. So we may see a slight sell off again before we see that reversal. So I'm bullish on the dollar. I hold a bullish outlook on the dollar. And that takes me to the USD Now, on the USD if you check it out from the daily time frame also, we'll clearly see price closing on a support zone last night and this same reversal candle just like we saw on the dollar index. Now, like I said, that is the indication of a potential bullish movement on the dollar. And if you take it down to the 4 hour time frame, we are seeing what looks close to what is on the dollar index, the possible formation of an inverse head and shoulder and a breakout. And taking it further to the 1 hour time frame, it's a lot clearer here. We have an inverse head and shoulder. The line up there is a neckline, so we're waiting for price to break out to the upside. So I'm bullish on the USD CHF today, and potentially, if all things work out as planned, especially if the data, now what will give strength to this analysis is the PPI in the afternoon, which we saw on the forexfactory.com. Let me go back to the Forex Factory. So in the afternoon, when we have the news being released, if the data both comes out good for the dollar, and that will be in color green, then that will lead to that, to give strength to the dollar to go in that bullish direction. So that news in the afternoon is very crucial to seeing this analysis, come to reality. But then either way it goes, I still maintain my bullish outlook. Even if the data comes out bad for the dollar, it just means that price will drop a little further, strengthening the second shoulder. And ultimately, I still believe price will go into that bullish direction. So either ways the market goes, the data goes, I still maintain my bullish outlook on the dollar. And potentially, I'll be looking out for profit in the, if this trade is taken in the range of to 50 Fibonacci 61. Fibonacci 50 is very close away, just like 5 pips, so we won't really look at that. So Fibonacci 61.8 can give as much as 25 pips, and Fibonacci 78.6 can give about 50 pips. So we're looking for potential at 25 to 50 pips move on this instrument, and it's an intraday setup, so it's something that is very, very possible in the course of today. So put your eyes on the dollar, especially the USD CHF. And this same analysis works across board for the major currency pairs. Now we are seeing a bullish possibility on the USD CHF. That means that on an instrument like Euro USD, we'll be looking at the opposite, which is a bearish, movement. And this is the Euro USD. And on the daily time frame, you can see the pattern is the same across board. Price hit a resistance zone and closed with that same reversal candlestick pattern. This time a tweezer top, and we may see a retracement, then look forward to a bearish breakout. If we take it down to the 4 hour, you can see the head and shoulder. Now for the inverse head and shoulder, that will point us to a buy. The head and shoulder will point us to a sell. So you can see that clearly. Let me remove this trend line. And on 1 hour, we are seeing clearly shoulder, head, possibly a little higher second shoulder, and the drop. So whatever the dollar, the USD CHF is doing, the GBP, the Euro USD, GBP USD will do the opposite. So GBP USD too will likely have that bearish outlook, and the same thing. You can see the GBP USD. I remember the setup I gave yesterday on GBP USD on 15 minutes. Price went exactly as analyzed, and we had a massive drop to the tune of 40 pips on the GBP USD for the afternoon session yesterday. All right, price again for GBP USD, price is trading at the resistance level on the daily. This is the daily time frame. And the candle that closed yesterday closed as a rejection candle. So technically, we are looking at a bearish movement. So this one is not having that tweezer top, like we saw on the Euro USD. But nevertheless, with this rejection candle, it's an indication that price may reverse downwards. I mean, it's a clear one that price may reverse downwards. And if you take it down to 4 hour, we can see it's still forming that same shoulder, head, second shoulder with the potential of a drop later on, and take it down again to 1 hour. And on 1 hour, we still have that pattern. So price may just go up a little, shoulder, head, second shoulder, and still a drop. So it cuts across the major currency pairs. We're bullish on the USD CHF, we're bearish on the Euro USD and the GBP USD. If you want to trade New Zealand USD, AED it's still the same thing. They are all bearish, So I'll just advise you put your focus on maybe the USD CHF alone. And if you want to trade another one with it, so we're buying the USD CHF or you may be selling Euro USD or GBP USD. That should just suffice. Now, for gold, we have a lot of interest around gold, and I've been saying that in recent times, I'm not seeing a clear entry setup for gold, but it looks like something is forming at the moment. So back to the big picture on gold on the weekly time frame, you can see I've always drawn this trend line, which shows price making higher highs, higher high, higher high, and the current weekly candle, the tip is touching this higher high the third time. If you don't know anyway, just need to do there's a 1 2 3 rule. When price touches the trend line the third time, there is a possibility of, even if it's a retracement, if it's not a reversal, even if it's a retracement, it's still something is expected. A reaction, a market reaction is expected. Now, take it back to the daily, we can now clearly see that yesterday the market closed as a rejection candle, touching that trend line on the weekly time frame, indicating higher highs. And this is an indication of actually a potential retracement or reversal, depending on the strength of the market. If you take it down to the 4 hour, I can't say anything much on the 4 hour, but on the 1 hour, I can see here it's not sharp, but then I can see a head and a shoulder also forming. So if this works out just like what I'm seeing, this region here will be the neckline. Let's see if we can draw a rising wedge along it just to give it, a higher level of probability. Okay, okay, good. So if everything works out as planned, we may be anticipating a drop in gold, possibly today. But I would say it's to take more effect possibly when the news is released from the United States. And that's the more reason if the data comes out good for the dollar, as we are anticipating with what we saw on the dollar index and the USD CHF, then gold would take, some retracement. We may see some bearish movement on gold. So I would say technically that I hold a bearish outlook on gold for today, but on the condition that price breaks out below this neckline. And other confirmation is your RSI to be clearly below 50 when that happens. So I'm bearish on gold. And then I'll look at the XRP. That's Ripple. All right, so this is XRP USD. So I'll start from the daily time frame. Now this is XRP on the daily time frame, and we can see price has been making some lower high, lower high, lower high, and yesterday lower high. Technically, we're looking for a downward continuation because this overall trend here is a bearish trend, so price is expected to drop further. However, there's a confluence around this region. A confluence means when we have multiple reasons why we are looking at buying or selling a financial asset. So here at this region here, we have a confluence. And what is a confluence, or what are the things pointing to the confluence? One, we have a resistance up there, a trend line touching, moving downwards. That's the lower high. And thirdly, the candle that closed yesterday closed as a rejection candle. These are three valid reasons why we know that the chances of price dropping is very, very high. And it's not just an ordinary rejection candle, it's already a bearish rejection candle indicating a general weakness in the price of the XRP. For those who don't know, XRP is a cryptocurrency. Ripple is one of those adopted by the United States government as a reserve currency for the US. Others include Bitcoin, Cardano, Solana, XRP, and there's a fifth one I can't remember now. I'll let you know once I recollect. All right, so we have a downward trend on XRP on the daily time frame, and we go down to 4 hour. You can see the resistance very clearly here. This is that confluence point where three things met at the same time to indicate a bearish movement: the trend line, the resistance, and the rejection candle. Actually, this rejection candle is forming a head and shoulder. Now, by now, you should be getting familiar with this head and shoulder pattern because it keeps showing up. And anytime it shows up, it gives the trade a very high level of probability. High level of probability means that the chances of that trade winning is always very high. So I have the neckline region here. This is the neckline region, and this is the head shoulder. Second shoulder is forming. If price makes a break below the neckline region and RSI is below 50, then we'll see a breakout of price on XRP. So we're bearish on XRP today. All right, that is going to be all from my end. There are some swing setup which I already mentioned yesterday. I'll just quickly do a follow-up on them and we'll conclude. For those who are joining us, who joined us a bit late, we've been looking at the dollar. Our focus today is the dollar, and as such, we are bullish on the USD CHF. We're bearish on the Euro USD. We're bearish on the GBP USD. We're bearish on gold. We're bearish on XRP. Now look at the swing setup for those. Now this is strictly for those who are swing traders. If you're not a swing trader, don't get yourself bothered. Just focus on the ones I've mentioned earlier. Now yesterday afternoon, I posted a setup on our groups, and that is the US oil. And what I'm seeing on the US oil on the daily time frame, let's go back. On the daily time frame, I can see clearly a support zone right here, and that's on the big picture, this may give us a double bottom, but then let's not bother ourselves about that for now. But the fact that price hit a support, and we expect price, to move to the upside direction. That's what I saw on the daily time frame. And on the 4 hour, I can see a shoulder ahead, a second shoulder, and price clearly breaking out above the neckline. However, overnight, it's a swing setup, so it will span beyond one day. Overnight, price retraced, but then is gaining strength enough to continue upwards. But this becomes a clearer trade to make an entry when price breaks above this high. So there's a minor resistance here. Once a new candle opens above this region, then we're going to see price surge to the upside. Now, this is actually an indication that potentially there will likely be an increase in the price of crude oil globally. I don't know how the market in Nigeria will react to that. Probably the government will subsidize as usual. But then this is indicating that if price breaks above this region, the price of crude oil will go beyond. Currently it's trading at $63.5 per barrel. It may go beyond that. All things being equal. So let's wait and see if price can break this minor resistance. And if you're there, you're a swing trader, you may look at an opportunity to buy the US oil when that happens. And the New Zealand JPY is the other one. I analyzed this on Monday, but then it's getting clearer as we speak. Now, for the New Zealand JPY on the daily time frame, okay, let me start from the weekly. All right, so from the weekly time frame, we can see that price, has been trending downwards. We have a downward trend on price, and that downward trend on the weekly is still very much of effect on the daily. However, on the daily, there is a minor resistance here with the candle yesterday closing in between these two, sorry, 2 days ago rather, closing between these two candles. Now, this could give us an indication of a potential weakness. I think it's called an inside bar or something like that. And 4 hour time frame, we can see price returning to that same resistance. Okay, it's clearer here. You can see that resistance, price is back to that resistance, and this may give us what looks like a double top pattern from where we can expect a breakout downwards. So if you're there, you are a swing trader, just put your eyes on this particular instrument. The neckline region will be somewhere around here. So if price is able to, if this region, this resistance here holds for the double top and price reverses downwards, at least once price breaks out below the neckline, you may make an early entry while we wait for price to drop further. And don't forget, finally, your RSI is your final confirmation. RSI should be below 50. Again, for emphasis, this US oil and New Zealand JPY is strictly for swing traders. If you don't know what swing trading means, just don't bother yourself. Just focus on the ones I mentioned earlier. All right, so that'll be all from my end this morning. I will look at the questions, I'll answer them, then we'll close this analysis. All right, Mr. Adeko Ishegun is asking me to check BTC. Mr. Yeti Akpan is asking me to check GBP AUD. Okay. Now, okay, let me just take it one after the other. BTC USD. All right, this is BTC USD on the daily time frame. Remember clearly telling us that I was seeing the formation of an inverse head and shoulder, but I said we need to wait clearly for price to break above the neckline before we see a movement to the upside. Now that is yet to happen. Now yesterday, the market closed as a rejection candle on the daily time frame. That might give us potentially possibility of a retracement, even though price may still go back upwards, but currently we might see a retracement on BTC USD. And a retracement is temporary price movement against established trend. So it will just be like a kind of a minor sell where price may still go, ultimately in the bullish direction. So this is BTC USD on the 1 hour, and price, because of the rejection candle yesterday, we may see a drop in price possibly today. I clearly explained that daily time frame is a long-term picture of BTC. So in the current time, we may see, a breakout to the downside, possibly today, and price may later on reverse. But on the short term here, we may see a retracement on BTC in the course of today. And the GBP AUD. On the long term, JPA UD may be looking bearish, but currently, let's see on that's on the weekly. We can see we have a rising wedge, and but on the daily, let's check what the daily is saying. On the daily, price is approaching a support. Is approaching a support level. On the 4 hour, okay, still the same. It still supports. This is a clear support zone. So price is approaching the support zone on the both the daily and the 4 hour. I think it touched it briefly on the 4 hour. Let me take it down to 1 hour. Yeah, there's a slight touch here. So we may be looking at a breakout to the upside on the GBP AUD. All right, so we may be looking at the breakout to the upside. If this candle closes bullish like this, like a bullish rejection candle like this by 8 o'clock, well, you may take an early entry on this if that's the condition. Otherwise, you may need to wait for price to break out because at that time it will have formed a candlestick pattern called the morning star. But then if that's technical for you, it's not a problem. Just wait. Price will move here, move within, then ultimately break out to the upside. So I think that we should just look towards that so that some will not make an uninformed decision. Price may break out or retest and continue higher on the GBP AUD. And don't forget at the point of entry, confirm that your RSI is clearly above 50. So we're bullish on the GBP AUD. Okay, Madam Monaji is asking me to check DG30 Adekoye Shegun Euro card. So Clement Ogushola, we've analyzed gold. Please let's always join early so that we don't need to be repeating the same thing over and over again. You're welcome, Miss Anyeti Akman. All right, so DG30 and Euro card. Yeah, yesterday I said it that for DG30, my analysis is that price will go and hit the resistance up there before dropping. So the first phase has been, completed. Price has gone to hit the resistance. I think on the daily, that should be resistance on the daily time frame. That's 4 hour, and the same thing on the daily, yeah, is the resistance on the daily. So then that means that today we're looking at the possibility of a downward movement on DJ30. So watch out in the course of today for a breakout downwards on this instrument. But then don't forget there is a minor kind of a support here because of that rejection candle. So I advise you wait for price to break out below the trend line and below this particular zone before you look at taking a sell trade on the GJ30. So we're bearish on the GJ30.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're
God
welcome.
bless you.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
And finally, Euro card. Okay, for Eurocard, we anticipated the formation of a double top yesterday, but it looks like price is doing his own thing. It's not following that, pattern. Even though on the daily time frame, we can clearly see that price, is forming a rising wedge pattern, and on the 4 hour, we're seeing the formation of what looks like a kind of a double top yesterday. But then, I still believe it to take a downward movement. It's trying to just maybe retrace, go up, then still eventually break out. But at the moment, I would just say stand down. If you are not on a trade on this, just stand down for now. If you are on a trade, maybe you're already on a sell trade, maybe you can still hold on price, but price may go higher. So your liquidity needs to be strong enough to hold this kind of trade. I think it's trying to form a head and a shoulder before ultimately dropping. So if you're already on the trade, I would say exercise patience, but like I always say, make sure that your risk management is properly taken care of, in case of eventualities. But today we don't expect much movement in the market till around 1:30 p.m. when we'll have the data from the US release, which is the PPI. So market may just, follow suit with the technicals, and until that time when the news will be released, there could be some reaction in the market. So make sure that you have a proper risk management in place.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Steven Ayo Oluwabami, is this also apply to Euro AUD? Well, I don't like to bump all pairs together because something is happening to one. So it's happening to all. It's just good to verify and be certain so that you don't just get caught up, because yeah, maybe the same thing is happening to the euros, but some it will have more effect on some than the others. Some may be very, very strong while the other is neutral. So you have to be very certain. So let's check Euro AUD. All right, so Euro AUD, okay, this is close to what we saw on the GBP AUD. Price is also trading around a support zone on the daily time frame for Euro AUD. Okay, so we have the support here and the candle for today. So we may see some upside movement in Euro AUD today. This is daily time frame, so we'll go down to 4 hour. Nothing much on 4 hour, but then let's go down to 1 hour. Okay, so just like I mentioned on the Euro AUD, if this candle closes as this kind of pattern by 8 o'clock, that will form what is called a morning star. And it's an indication that price, may surge higher. If you understand candlestick patterns, perfect. You can use that to make an entry. But if not, I will advise you wait for a clearer entry much later. But then I would rather even take this down to like 15 minutes. Let me see what's happening on the 15 minutes. Okay, so this is the 15-minute time frame. I can't draw clear trend lines here. It's not giving me clarity for trend line. Trend line just helps us to fine tune our entry. But in a case where it's not so readily available, we can use candlestick pattern or chart pattern. Now, according to what I'm seeing on this here, we may see a retracement, on a 15 minutes, on 1 hour, we may see a morning star, but on 15 minutes, it might evolve into an inverse head and shoulder, as in it may sell a little before making its way upwards. And if that happens, that's a good one because we'll have seen the formation rather of an inverse head and shoulder, which will trigger price upwards. But either way it goes, I strongly believe this instrument is going to go bullish today. So I'll say I'm bullish on the Euro AUD and even the GBP AUD. All right, I think I've attended to all the questions here. So for the person asking about gold, I will just oblige you and close with gold analysis once again. That's Mr. Clement Ogunshola. So, Mr. Clement, I want you to pay attention as I analyze gold. All right, so this is gold on the daily, sorry, yeah, from the weekly time frame, we actually, you're welcome, Mr. Clement. This is gold on the weekly time frame, and we can see that price is trending higher, and there is a trend line that connects price from the weekly time frame as price is making a series of higher highs. These are higher highs. This happens when market overall direction is bullish, trending upwards. And on the daily time frame, on the daily, we can see that the market closed yesterday as a rejection candle, a very sharp one. That's a candlestick with a long shadow and small body. So that tells us there's possibility of a reversal in the market. So we're holding a bearish outlook on the market. And thirdly, I'm seeing let me take it down to 1 hour. It's clear on the 1 hour. On the 1 hour time frame, I'm seeing what looks a lot like a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder, and that means we should expect a bearish breakout on gold. And a further confirmation to that bearish breakout is that we have the formation of a very clear rising wedge pattern. Rising wedge pattern is a chart pattern that points us, to a bearish direction in the market. All right, so with all this, I just remember something. With all these points of mind, I hope I've been able to convince you that I have a bearish outlook on gold. We just need to wait for price to break out below the neckline region. And at that instance, RSI should be clearly below 50 and we'll see a drop on gold. Now, what will even make it more much more clear will be later in the day when we have the news from United States released by 1:30 p.m. There are two events from the US PPI, that's the Producer Price Index, will be released by 1:30 p.m. Now, our analysis for the dollar is a bullish dollar. So if the data comes out in line with that, analysis, the USD will go bullish, and gold is negatively correlated. That is, goes opposite direction to the dollar. So if the dollar is buying, gold should be selling, all things being equal, except if there is global crisis that will make gold to behave otherwise. But for now, I think there's relative peace presently. So if the news comes out good for the dollar as we anticipate, then we'll see a crash in gold. All right, so that'll be all from the analysis this morning. Please take note of all the instruments we've analyzed. I'll drop the link to the video, and please make sure you follow through with this analysis. Focus more on these instruments as you trade today. Now, what I see people do sometimes is that after all the analysis, they still go ahead and start trading other instruments. Well, you do yourself a whole lot of good by focusing on just the ones we've analyzed, because we've taken time to analyze all these instruments, and they have a higher probability of price going in the direction that we've analyzed for you. The essence of the analysis is one, for education, two, to make your job a lot easier as a trader. All right, so I want to wish you a good trading day. Don't forget, tomorrow we're having our CPI, Consumer Price Index. You should have seen the link or some, flyer in your group. If not, check today, you'll find them in your group. We're going to take off by 1:15 p.m. for CPI live trading. Make sure you join us. Not just join us alone, join us with a funded account, because we're going to be making money tomorrow at CPI. And tomorrow, Thursday, also, if you find yourself, if you live around Abuja or Lagos, you make sure you go to our office for training. We have physical training sessions at our two locations at Abuja and Lagos. Abuja office time is 10:30 a.m. Lagos is 11 a.m. And the venue for Abuja is our office. That's PU Prime Africa Abuja office, Work and Connect Building, 50 Ebitu Okiwe Street, Jabi, Abuja. While that of Lagos is PU Prime Africa Lagos office, Agos Executive Lounge, 54B Adeniyi Jones Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. Take care and have a great day ahead. Bye bye.